Well then, do you? Jazz. A chart-topping genre from the early 1920s to the late 1990s, jazz has been at the forefront of American culture for quite some time now. You see it making its way into weddings, presidential concerts, and even kids shows?
Castaways.
Well, whatever the matter, it's known that this genre ranked prevalent through the globe over the past century. But how did this whole craze even begin?
It's the 1920s, and a decade of change is about to unfold onto the U.S. New technology, new economics, and a new underground genre is making its way into the scene.
Jelly Roll Morton claims he invents jazz. Louis Armstrong pushes new tunes, new sounds, and new styles as Larry Newton gets locked out of his recording sessions for throwing a hissy fit. But with all this, the combination of ragtime, African-American blues, and many other influences lead us into the next few years of the Roaring Twenties. As the end of the Great Depression falls into place in the late 1930s, we find Benny Goodman and his boys going out swinging as the end of the Great Depression falls into place. People start throwing up money and hopping into concerts. Professional musicians moving all over the lands. It's a time for big bands, swing, and joy. When suddenly, the younger generation is done with all the heavily mandated notation and rhythms of swing and decide I'm Debussy, but for jazz, and start introducing fast-paced, high-energy, and sometimes cured note vomit for their solos. Kids. A complex era of bebop. So complex, in fact, that some guy named Miles Davis was like, I fucking hate this. Let me do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing right now. A full 180 with relaxation and smooth vibes surrounding the world. The harmonies and emotion in the music started to come through over everything else. Cool jazz was just all about how you said it, not what you said. You just had to be cool. And then the culture said, screw it, turn the bus around, we're getting speedy again, and we're going to South America. Bop starts to come back into the scene. Some people are a little upset as people start to use classical influences on the genre. While this is going on, people start yanking all kinds of ideas from South America, giving exposure to Latin culture in the same way that the origins of jazz explored African American culture. Well, kind of. We eventually get into modal jazz, avant-garde, jazz fusions, whatever that is. And we see all of this history surging through the American culture, changing the traditions of classical music through the presence of this chart-topping, culture-feeding, and just outright groovy phenomena spreading through the States. Universities often take part in the development and upkeep of this culture, as we see with Berkeley's The Real Book, Juilliard's freaking bagged saxophones, and even in the musical scene of Norwalk, Oklahoma. Norman. My oh my. A grand university. OU sits in the dead center of Norman, Oklahoma. Various degrees, countless accomplishments, and a bunch of Sooner faithful hold this community together. And I'm actually a student here. A music student. Some of my friends and I figured, why not go out and figure out where the jazz is at? Okay, who am I kidding? This was totally for an assignment.
I'm Isaac Haas. I go through phases of music, but jazz, at least once a week, I'll put on like Mingus. Like it can be big band, it can be combo, but listening to jazz is so integral to getting the feel down. I can't recommend it enough if you're in a jazz band.
I'm a big jazz listener. Like when a certain kind of music just kind of gets to you, like I can really connect with it. And like, and everybody's different. Like for me, like there are just certain things that really connect to me, whether it's like because I've listened to it for my whole life or it's just I found it and it's just like it really sticks me in a certain place.
They do a lot of things you haven't really heard before, like amplify their instruments in a certain way or have very interesting vocalists on their tracks.
What is it about music that has made it kind of this important thing that you've centered your life around?
Honestly, just the community and family sense of it. Wherever you go, you really can find a family, whether it is like a small niche or a huge one.
The OU Jazz Ensembles have a heartfelt history at the school, traced all the way back to the late 1980s when the bass professor John Williams agreed to direct the band. Williams built the library, prepared the band for concepts, and almost immediately began taking the group to regional jazz festivals. Soon after, he retired and Jay Wilkinson took his place. To this day, we can still see the cultural appreciation of the jazz culture in the School of Music.
Do you say that you listen to jazz often in your spare time, or how often would you listen to jazz?
I definitely have gone through phases. I feel like I had a year-long phase where I only listened to jazz. Listen to a lot of Snarky Puppy, like fusion jazz and stuff.
I mean, I'm always a big Jacob Collier fan, but I have some some old CDs in my car that's like Stan Getz, J.J. Johnson, Carl Fontana, some drama players too. So yeah, I was really lucky to have a really good jazz department in high school. My high school band director was really phenomenal jazz trombone player. So I learned a ton from him. And then I had some other guys in my band that were like really, really good and pushed me to learn and be really excited about jazz. So that's what made me get into it.
Now, what do you do besides music?
Oh, well, oh, geez. I'm a pretty diehard music guy, so this is like my worst question. I'm first and foremost in a music family. Everyone in my family can pick up an instrument and play it for something.
We actually attended a concert from the OU Jazz Ensembles in an effort to understand why all these personal connections were made. The School of Music actually has a tradition of inviting well-known and respected artists to the school. They were hosting John DeVersa, an internationally recognized trumpet player who was at the forefront of more contemporary jazz songs. And the first thing we noticed,
Good evening, how's everybody?
is that this was a conversation for the audience.
Don't lie to me, because I know. I am so honored to be here tonight, and I want to share with you a little secret, and that's that my mom's family is from Oklahoma. So I grew up here in Oklahoma from when I was 7 to 14, and it's so lovely to be back. We're going to play a couple of tunes here of mine, and I wanted to let you know the first one is entitled Old Timer, and there is an incredible trumpet player named Snooky Young that this is dedicated to. And he lived on the West Coast for many years. He used to play on The Tonight Show for many years, and so many studio sessions, and played with the Clayton Hamilton Band, with Count Basie, with everyone. And I got to be around him a little bit when he was still playing so great. He's since passed about 10 years ago. And when he passed, I saw this video of him on YouTube playing with the Count Basie Orchestra. He was playing a very famous chart by Neil Hefti that they played with the Count Basie Orchestra, and he was back here. He was playing with his mates, and he was playing. Then he's going to play a solo, and so he was at the end of the trumpet section there, and he's just slowly starts walking down while the band's playing. It's this really slow tune. And he had this look of joy on his face and his heart. And he just took about, 3 hours to walk down. And he was just smiling at the band and that feeling of joy. And so this is for Snooky. This is called Old Timer.
And that's what's been playing in the back for the past couple of minutes. As we sat through the concert, taking notes on the interactions between the performers and the audience, we started to notice how people were listening. Eyes closed, leaning back. One of the field annotators actually stated that the crowd loved this piece. People were very much involved in the performance throughout, including myself. Mr. DeVersa really pulled everyone in with this work. There really is a lot more to this culture than the fast-paced notes. The history has always been in the efforts to enact change, give exposure to undermined cultures, and to bring people together. As I myself reflect on the concepts of the historical cultures of jazz, it begins to hold a new meaning. I think I can speak for myself and my group when I say we recognize the deeper meanings behind the culture surrounding jazz through this project. Whether it be the fast-paced technicality and bebop from the 40s, or the community surrounding the arts. I think I speak for us all when I say that I think jazz has a special place here at the University of Oklahoma. From the 1980s all the way to now, you can definitely tell that jazz has held its ground, and it's the students who have made that possible.